So what I'd like to do is invite on stage a number of former winners, and I've just grouped them together here because we can be very clannish down in Cork, so we keep all our own guys till the next group. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome on stage to Bob Fowden, Bill Connolly, Stephen Murphy, Vincent Meade and John Caplis. So if you'll just move up along there. Welcome, Vincent. Have we seats for everybody? John, seeing that you're out there on the left wing, I'll start with you first. Some great memories of West Cork, I'm sure.
Yes, quite a lot of great memories. Absolutely great.
And at that particular time, you know, rallying has changed so much nowadays, but I think it was probably a golden era. It's a term that we use, and I suppose maybe 50 years from now somebody else will look back and say that was a golden era, but it was a very special era in the 70s and the 80s.
Well, 77 for me was a special year because I was given the opportunity to navigate Billy Coleman. I had no idea that I was navigating Billy Coleman. I had done a lot of rallies with my old friend Buckley, Gerald Buckley, and unfortunately can't be here this evening, but I didn't know until the morning of the rally, on my way to Clonakilty, I bought the Cork Examiner in Bandon. And there I learned that I was navigating Billy Coleman.
That was a nice way of Billy telling you, wasn't it?
Well, quite true, yeah.
But there was no big deal about it, you just did the business.
Well, I had done quite a lot of rallying with Gerald Buckley, and I had won Cork 20s, 73, 74, so I wasn't a total amateur as such, but to navigate Billy Coleman was something else.
I was just going to ask you, it seems a kind of a stupid question, but obviously you were impressed.
Oh, yes, very much so, very much so. Yeah, he's quite a good driver.
Yeah.
If I can tell you another little story, Ari was talking all night about how good and so he was, but I was doing the Cork 20 in, I don't know what year, with Gerald Buckley, and Ari was leading us by quite a bit. We didn't have any hope of catching. We didn't have any hope of catching him, but
it's just as well he has no microphone now.
We were under pressure for second. By Brian Nelson and I'm not sure who was with him, but we were driving so hard, but Harry wasn't driving hard, but we caught up with Harry Vatnan, believe it or not, and blew horn for road, pull in. But he didn't pull in, obviously. That's a true story.
Harry?
I had no bunkers at the back.
For those of you up at the back that didn't hear that, Harry said he had 2 punctures at the time.
No, he had no puncture.
But they were slow punctures.
But he didn't pull in.
Yeah.
It nearly went a punch up later.
Yeah. If you just pass the microphone there to Vincent, and Vincent, you were a winning co-driver as well, but Richie Healy can't be with us tonight due to health reasons or whatever. But you had a great time with Richie, particularly in the RS 1800, and victory in Clonakilty, I'm sure, was sweet. And I think you probably had to beat Mr. Fowden, didn't you?
Yeah, we did actually. Bob went off on the ring stage, but I might say Bob was winning the rally, but and he was beating us, but he went off 3/4 way through ring, and we won it that year. I think we won it the second. We won it in '84 and '85. So, Richie, since his apologies, he's having some eyesight problems, so he wasn't able to come.
Yeah, I'm sure you had great times with Richie, both in the Group 1 escort, and then when you moved up to I think you had Group 2 for a brief while, but then onto the Group 4. But, you know, that era in rallying and that car has become iconic, and I think the late Frank Marr had it after that, and it's in a good home now with John Moynihan in Mill Street.
Yeah, it's come back to, it's actually in very close to me at home now. It's in Mill Street with John Moynihan, yeah.
Richie enjoyed the battles with Bob Fowden and John Price. Of course, the overseas entry, the Irish lads loved taking on the Welsh guys, didn't they?
Oh, well, it was great. There was great camaraderie that time, even though it was quite vicious out on the stages. But it was good. It was good fun. And I think it probably wasn't as serious as it is nowadays, which was pretty good.
Okay, Bill, being serious or not so serious, you had, I think it was the BMW for one win, and was it the Opel Manta for another? The BP Manta, wasn't there? You had great times in Clan as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Is this thing working?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had great times. I used to come down to the West Cork Rally for years, and eventually, actually, it's great Joe was here, my brother, because he was my biggest supporter, and actually I gave it up, and he's at it now, so it's really in the family. But no, we had great times, and eventually I got a car in 1989. I bought Austin McHale's old car, and we had a car that was good enough to win the event. And I remember actually the first stage we were behind some guy from the UK in some sort of a fiberglass car, and we were very quickly we caught the guy on the stage, and Jeff someone or other. But anyway, we got past him. But I remember reading the motoring news, and I always thought this was extraordinary, that instead of saying that we caught him and passed him, they were saying that the man was delayed by the spray coming up from our car. Talk about biased reporting. But anyway, we were delighted, and we were having a great ding-dong battle with Vincent here, and we've been friends for a long, long time. But I think you went off somewhere, Vincent, thanks be to God, because we were coming under pressure. But we ended up winning the event then by 7.5 minutes or something.
Yeah, I suppose at that time as well, if you lost a half a minute, even on a Saturday morning, you didn't really, worry too much about it, because you knew you could pick it up. But I mean, in modern day rallying, if you lose a half a minute, you can just park the car and go home.
Well, we were having our own battle, and we were a long way ahead of the rest of the field, so it sort of made it easier for me when Vincent went off the road. Sorry about that, Vincent. Then the second time I won it was in the BMW that I had bought from Bertie Fisher, and we had a run in Galway and wasn't really happy with the car, so we came down here before the circuit to have a run in it. And I just said to Tom Meany, my co-driver, I said, we could win this event, because we were just sort of testing the car, and it was a great car, and it was running well at the time. So I think we won it by 7.5 minutes. The second time was by 12 seconds, so it was a much better battle the second time.
The only driver in the history of the rally to have won it 3 times, I think, is with 97, 99, or 95, 97, and 99, and all in the same car, was a Welshman. And I think, as well as coming over for the rally at the weekend, probably every second or third year, it also coincided with Wales and Ireland in rugby, and there'd be kind of an after party midway through a rally if Ireland were playing Wales on the Saturday evening. Bob, you're very welcome back to Clonakilty, and winning 3 times, that must give you great pleasure.
Yeah, it's great to be here this evening. I'd like to thank Cork Motor Club for inviting me here. Yeah, it's a great event. I think it's the only event I think I've won 3 times. Great people, great atmosphere here. We came over here many years with the Rover and the Works TR7, but we never had success. And then we left it for a good few years, and then we came back with the Escort, and we had 5 really good years, winning it 3 times and finishing second twice in 5 years. So that period of time was a good period for me, and we also won a few events over in the UK with the car. But again, I'd like to say it's the people who've made me so welcome coming over here, and it given us a really good time, and help and assistance, financial help, the fundraising committee, and people. In fact, I must say this about Mr. and Mrs. White. Unfortunately, Mr. White is no longer with us, and they actually used to put us up to stay during the event. They didn't have to do it, but they actually got out of their house for us, the crew and myself and my navigator, to move in, and we really appreciate things like that. And the son is here this evening, and I was introduced to him, and then it really brought back some memories,
I'm sure. Like all the people here, and particularly the drivers, you're looking forward to browsing through this for the winter, aren't you?
Yes, I am. It's very similar probably to, we've just had something very similar in Wales, the Epint book. That's similar to this sort of book. And as I say, we won Epping 13 times during my career. And that's the same sort of thing again. So I'll be really looking forward to reading that. And I hope we've got a few good photographs there.
No doubt there is. Stephen, if you'll... yep. You came in 2000 in a Subaru, and I think it was just out the box and a winning combination.
I suppose an easy story about that, Martin. It was the R555 FEL car from Bertie. And just a quick story. It's a pity that Bertie can't be here tonight, because what a fantastic driver he was. But I went up to test the car when I was buying it from him up in Enniskillen, on the airfield in Enniskillen, and I can remember distinctly. We went up one side, he handbraked, he went down the other side, handbraked, back down the opposite side, handbraked, back up and stopped dead. We got out and we took off the helmets and we put them on the bonnet and see here, young Murphy, what do you think of that car? And I said, Jesus, Bertie, I can't understand why you didn't win more rallies in it. and his comment back to me was, hi, young Murphy, he says, I'll remind you of that in time to come.
And
but I can say, yeah, the West Cork event when I came down here was probably better known for singing and playing the guitar and acting a maggot than it was for rallying. But I have to say, a fantastic rally, very, very well run. The people down in West Cork are superb. They make you feel so welcome, and I really enjoyed the event. And what more can you say? It's great to be back here tonight, and it's great to be invited to celebrate Kevin and the guys producing this book, and it's just fantastic. And before I go any further, nobody has mentioned Martin. I know Martin a long time, and I must say he's done a super job tonight, so I think he deserves a round of applause as well.
now, actually, I think we're ready for our next group. So, John, Vincent, Bill, Bob, and Stephen, thank you. Thank you, Bob. I suppose we'll skip a few generations here and we'll go to WRC level. So to join me on stage, Keith Cronin, our current WRC 3 frontrunner, and Paul Nagel, who went back to the stage in World Rallying last weekend in Australia. And of course, Keith and Billy remain the only Irish drivers to have won the British Rally Championship, and that's something in Cork that we're very proud of. The other thing we're not very proud of in Cork is Kerry beating us. Paul, I suppose in some respects, going to Australia last weekend was surreal insofar as that, 18 months ago it was you and Chris Meek. And last weekend you were competing with Chris Meek. I don't think anybody could have written that story.
No, is this working?
Yeah.
No, a year and a half ago our rallying careers were probably over. We had a very good contract with Pro Drive and Mini, and obviously everyone knows that all fell asunder, and we were left with nothing and sitting in the Circuit of Ireland just watching the rally and say, this is over. We might as well go back and take stock of what has after happening, enjoyed what we had. But last week we were sitting side by side at the start line of Rally Australia in a factory Volkswagen and a factory Citroen to race against each other. So it was a bit surreal because I spent 7 years co-driving with Chris, and I actually met him for the first time here back in 2007 at the Rally Forums, and he was down here doing a forum with the club, and that's where we parted numbers that night to do the Circuit of Ireland 2 weeks later.
Yeah, and this last weekend you partnered Andreas Mikkelsen, who a lot of Irish people know because he rallied in the Tarmac Championship, and he also won the fastest rally a number of years ago. And I suppose, in the Battle of the Sexes as well, of course, all the ladies love Mikkelsen, just like, Mr. Batman was loved in his era as the blonde bombshell, How difficult was handling Mr. Mikkelsen at the weekend when, unfortunately, Chris was under instruction to finish. Unfortunately, he didn't. Andreas was under similar instruction to finish. Do drivers listen to co-drivers when they've that's the order, or do you make sure they do?
It's a difficult question to answer. I have to be very diplomatic here. We did our job in Australia. We went out the first night out, we were leading in middle of the second day. We had to probably under team orders. And the last day we had to finish because obviously Chris was behind us, and we had to score manufacturer points. So we had to do what we were told. It was a mistake by Chris. We were all racing. It's out there. It's a big bad world. He was fastest in qualifying. He was the big star out there. And rallying, there's no happy mediums. And he went from being top of the world to the bottom, and it was a long spin home for him. But he's good enough. He's there at the top. He has got the speed, and Andreas has got big speed as well. They're both very good. They're different eras. They're different age brackets now. Andreas is a lot younger than him. He's learning the ropes. Chris is the other side of his career, but they're both. It's great privilege to be sat with both of them. Coming from that end of the world to here in Clonakilty, of course, you were victorious with Donny. Yeah, I've won this rally. It was my probably first big win in 2004, and I won it again in 2008. But it's 2 wins I've had here. Every other time I've stopped 5 times in the first stage here. So it's bad luck in most places. But the 2 times I have finished, I've won the rally. So I have a 100% finishing record. Yeah, very good. And you still, of course, would like to put the Rally the Lakes into the CV, don't you? It's missing. It's missing since I've started rallying. It's a long time waiting, but the way things are going at the moment, I'll have to wait for another bit. It'll wait for me. I'll come back looking for it. It's not going to looking for me at the moment. Please God, when you retire from the World Rally Championship, the Rally of the Lakes will be waiting for you. World Rally Championship, I suppose that's the ultimate dream, Keith. At the moment, we're on the 3rd step. You know, maybe next year, please God, WRC2. But you have an important job to do in France in a little over a week's time, or 2 weeks.
Yeah, this has been a huge year for me. First year in the World Championship, 4 events down, and we're in with a really good shot at winning the Citroën Top Driver. France in 2 weeks, and then Wales is the last round, middle of November. Hopefully we can get a good result in France and keep the championship alive. And you know, if we could get to Wales in a good position, you know, we'd have a bit more confidence there. It's the only event in the championship I'd have any experience of, so that would be good. You're enjoying your rallying now again, aren't you? Yeah, this year has been good. You know, it's new events, new countries. You know, there's so much to take in. You know, try not to put as much pressure on myself now. You know, go out, enjoy the event, and you know, if I let it happen, I usually go well, which seems to be working out for me this year. And it is actually important to enjoy yourself as well, because if you're not really, there's no point in doing it. Sure, there's not. Yeah, at this level, I suppose it's a bit different. A lot of the enjoyment comes from the at the end of the rally. If you can get a win, this is where the enjoyment is coming from. You know, there's a lot of pressure at this level. You know, every young driver at this level wants to succeed, and I suppose you have to put this pressure on because every detail is important. But when you get the results, that's when you get a good feeling. You showed your pace here in West Cork a couple of years ago in the Group N car. You enjoyed it? Yeah, I haven't got to do the West Cork that many times, but we did it. I can't remember what year it was now. It was in the Evo 9, I think. It could have been 2009. Yeah, I enjoyed the event. Ask Kevin, he'll tell us straight away. Yeah, yeah. But you enjoyed. I think you were 4th. Yeah, it was a good event. You know, the stages here are brilliant. I like the really fast stages. Really compact event. You know, like where you're in the World Championship now, you're doing recce's over. You could be doing a road section for 2 hours between stages. Here, you're into one stage, out of it, into the next stage. You know, it was great from that point of view. Okay, look. You know, as I said earlier, with all our panel, we could go on and on and on, but unfortunately we have restrictions on time. So it's a delight to have both of you, and may I wish both of you the very best in your ultimate dream in the World Rally Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Nagel and Kate Cronin. Now, we've had a number of winners from Cork down through the years in the West Cork Rally, and that's, you know, I suppose from a local perspective or a county perspective, that is very important. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Liam O'Callaghan, Donal O'Donovan, Dennis Cronin, Donny O'Sullivan, and Liam McCarthy. And I haven't forgotten you, Brian, but you have to wait for the next group. Liam isn't with us, obviously. I suppose, Donal, I'll put you in the hot seat first, because you were the first local guy to win the rally, and
I suppose locally the event means an awful lot to people here, but they have one of their own winning it, you know, in their own locality, then it means a lot. And I think at that time in Clonakilty, you got a good kick out of that winning.
Yeah, it was a big achievement for us to be able to win it, put the package together to win it for myself and Pat and my team and sponsors. And it was the year Paddy Cohan, the late Paddy Cohan, sponsored it through his company, Cohan Ready Mix. And it was brilliant. We got a civic reception. It was a big event and big celebrations after, so that stuck for a while.
Is there pressure on the local driver in the local rally, or is it something that probably the media put on themselves, or are you aware of pressure on your local event?
Well, obviously you want to do as good as you can in the local event, and there's always big competition here. In those years there was several locals capable of winning it, so you always wanted to do as good as you could, and it was nice to come out on top that year.
You won it in the Sierra, and I suppose if you have probably one regret in that era of rallying, you let the Sierra go when you probably had it at its right point.
Yeah, I know that now, but we thought at the time by going for the Toyota it was going to be a move forward, but in actual fact it was a move backwards. But they're the regrets, hindsight.
Dennis, the BMW and then the Subaru. Great victories, and I suppose an iconic car, particularly the BMW.
Yeah, well, we didn't have a victory with second and third, I'd say everywhere else, but winning it, but does the Subaru.
But in the Subaru, I mean, you were battling with Liam as well. You know, I suppose over the years you'd have a great battle, but how important was you know, Killarney was probably your home event, but this was probably the next closest to your heart.
Yeah, well, it's always, I suppose, a local event. You put more pressure on yourself. You're always probably expected to do well in a local event, and you probably obviously do put more pressure on yourself, and more things seem to go wrong. You know, like this year.
I suppose you had an experience this year, obviously, that people don't like to have. Frank O'Mahony had it on a few occasions, and it, you know, I suppose you break yourself for the whole 2 days. You push to the limit, and then it goes wrong. I mean, you know, nice guys finish second, they say, but you know, when a victory is taken like that from you, I'm sure that you just want to go way home, go quickly, rather than, you know, get guys walking up to you saying hard luck or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's hard to. What are we only about 4 miles or 5 miles from the end? So it is just pretty disappointing when you ended up that close.
But it also robbed the people here of a great, you know, a great final stage as well between yourself and Brian.
Yeah, but I suppose there's always something that is around every corner. You never know. Like even Kevin said, or no, it was Darren. I didn't realise how many times I'd done the West Cork, but as Darren was telling me, I'd done it 16 times. And that was my only time going out with an accident. But it was probably the only time I had a car that was capable of winning it as well. But that's the way things happen.
Donny, I suppose you transcended the boundaries. You were living in Killarney, but you were, you know, Cork by birth, and winning in Clonakilty meant a lot to you with Paul, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah. The West Cork would have been the first rally I would actually have ever been spectating at, and to come down and win it in 2004, and to come back and do it in 2008 was fantastic.
2 different cars?
2 different cars, same navigator, world class, which has obviously helped. The car we had each time was more than capable of winning the event, which made it quite easily. Liam put us under a lot of pressure in 2004. All the way to the end, we didn't have it that easy. 2008, a lot of other people had difficulties, so we had an easy enough win at the end, but 2004 we had to race all the time, yeah.
The roads in around Clonakilty are that slight bit different, say, the roads down in the Beara Peninsula or around Killarney. Is there a different technique of driving?
Totally. The roads in West Cork are that little bit wider. They're certainly smoother, and you can carry a lot more speed. Where when you travel up to Galway or down on the peninsula, like you say, you've narrower, more bumpier stages where they're a bit more technical. But if you're not able to take ultimate speed in West Cork, you're not going to be in the top 3 at all.
Liam, I'll come to you. You spent almost a lifetime, we won't say anything about the money, trying to win the West Cork Rally. And before I actually ask you any question at all, when you won it, your late mother, I met her at the party on the Monday night, I think, in Balnacorrig or whatever, and I just said to her, and she was 80-something at the time or something, and I said to her, "Isn't it great Liam won it?" And she just turned to me, she just looked me straight in the eye, and she said, "Wasn't it about time for him?" It took a long time.
Yes, and I don't know how many year after year we used to a lot of years we either crash out with or mechanical failure or whatever. But that year it took a bit of weight off my shoulders. All right.
Yeah. But for us and for other photographers, you were a dream really in many respects, because almost every year you had a different car. You had the Metro, then you had the TPR Metro, you had the Cosworth, the Sierra. It was almost, an annual or a biannual change. The TPR Metro, I suppose, or maybe the one before it, the red one, that was a great favourite of yours, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was my that was the favourite car, the red Metro, so the proper car, and that first year we went well with it, and we had a small transmission problem, which we had to retire out of it, and we just kept moving forward. Well, sometimes we were taking 3 steps back with some of the cars, but they were definitely the buzz car to drive was the Metro. I'd like to have one of them in my shed now.
Yeah, I was speaking with Billy earlier this week, just putting the final touches on a piece for the Cork 20 programme, and he actually, he thought the Metro was once you got the hang of it, he said, it was a real good car.
Oh, they were they were a massive step forward. The car I had wasn't a full international car, but if you had a full international like they had in the works, they must have been an awesome car. But that red car I had was a very, very good car.
Of course, right throughout your time, you were associated with Paddy Keohane, Michael Keohane, the Keohane family, Keohane Ready Mix. And that was a great association right down through the years, wasn't it?
Yes, I wouldn't have been able to do part of the rallying, I don't know, for the support from the Keohane family, and they were always great supporters of ours.
And it is important. I mean, it's in Clonakilty, Paddy's weekend. It is the West Cork Rally. That's it. Nothing else. It's a big occasion.
Yeah, the buzz up to it, the months before the rally, getting the car ready and what car the lads will have, what car Dawn will have, the car Donny was coming with, and it was the buzz, and if you had there's a good feeling coming up to the rally when you were doing it.
I just want one story relate to the late Paddy Keohane. I remember one of the rallies, and it was Brian, unfortunately, was the clerk of the course, and I think it was about 3 weeks before the rally, or 2 weeks before the rally, and I rang Brian on a Sunday evening. I think it was only just house phones at that stage, and I said, "Brian, any news on the rally?" "No, not really." I said, "Kind of writing a column on this anyway." So I kind of said, "Are you sure, Brian?" "Yep." I said, "Nothing at all?" "Yep." "Right, okay." So I put down the phone and I said, "I'm in trouble here, because if nothing appears in the Star, they think, well, it was Martin, nobody else." So I just said, well, maybe, there's no such thing as bad publicity. And I think that Thursday when the Southern Star hit the shelves in West Cork, the back page of it went something like, "To say that there is no news on the West Cork Rally is exactly the case this weekend." Because when I contacted Brian, he didn't have anything to tell me. So when the papers hit the streets, I got a phone call, and it was Paddy. And those of you that knew Paddy had 2 voices. One was this lovely soft voice, that could get anybody to do anything at all, almost the impossible. And the other was the one of the dramatic voice that could make a point with very, very strongly. But he rang me up and he said, "Hi, Martin." I said, "Hi, Paddy. How are things?" "Fine." "Good." But he said, there was nobody talking about the rally. He says, until a while ago. God, he said they're all talking about it now. It is great. So, you make the point, there is no such thing as bad publicity, but, a sponsor like Johan Ready Mix, it was important from our element to give them a bit of coverage, and funnily enough, there's only a paragraph, but it probably got the most feedback and the most kickback from Clonakilty, that everybody was talking about the rally. Needless to say, the following week, there was plenty news about the West Cork Rally. Ladies and gentlemen, my 4 winners here. My left, Dennis Cronin, Donal O'Donovan, Donny O'Sullivan and Liam McCarthy. Now, we're almost through, because there is one winner that we haven't spoken to that's here with us, and it is the latest winner. But I wouldn't bring him up on stage on his own, because I don't think I've interviewed anybody apart from Kevin on their own here tonight. And I think it is probably fitting that the person that accompanies him is a man that will also have contributed hugely to this rally. Unfortunately, he never won it. Ladies and gentlemen, in that order, Frank O'Mahony and Brian O'Mahony. I won't sit between the two of you, because I don't like being meat in a sandwich. Frank, I'll start with you, and I suppose if we start with last year, I think Brian's win actually gave you more pleasure than if you nearly won it yourself, and by God, did you try down through the years?
Well, yes, I suppose it did indeed, yes, and I had failed, obviously. I think Liam McCarthy and myself for years were dicing for the lead several times, and neither of us could win it. Then eventually Liam broke the duck and pulled it off, so I was left behind, and time caught up with me, I think. So I said, that's not a cup I'm going to have on the shelf. I just couldn't win the rally. I think I probably led the rally for more than anybody ever did that won it, but something always happened. I think a lot of the times it was my own fault, but we had a lot of bad luck as well. But I said, right, that trophy eluded me. So I was depending on Brian then, I suppose, yeah, but which probably put a bit of pressure on him as well, even though I didn't say anything about it, but I'm sure he knew it. So it was nice that he won it the first year, and I think I got probably a bigger kick out of it than he did himself, maybe. To those of us, or those of you that think Frank is from Carrigaline, well, Frank actually is a West Cork man. He was born in Drimoleague, so the West Cork Rally is his home rally. I suppose the year of the Metros, yourself and Mr. Price in the yellow Metros, level after day one. That was tremendous, and yet you were unhappy with the car, and the boy from Hereford said, no boy, she's grand. That's right, yeah, that was a famous one, I suppose, yeah. John Price was running my car at the time, and Metros were going well. I knew before the rally started that it was probably John was going to be the biggest threat, and Liam probably, and whoever else was in it at the time, Bob. And we got off to a reasonably good start, but we had a vibration in the car all day on Saturday, and I was discussing with Price during the day. He told me he would sort it out that night at the end of the first day. At the end of the first day, we were tied on level point times. Unfortunately for me, he didn't attempt to sort it out. So on the first stage in the morning and ring, I was first on the road, and right at the bridge and ring at the pub, it broke the back shaft, the cross shaft, and we were left with two-wheel drive. So we got to the end of the stage. Price caught me, and I left him out eventually. And and we had a discussion at the start of the next stage, and then I got the shaft changed at the service, but I was way back. I had lost 4 or 5 minutes, and we eventually came up to second behind Price, and he won it. I was second again, so I was the bridesmaid all the time in this rally. So it was a good rally, I must say. I enjoyed it. The car, it was a good dice. The ring stage, you've mentioned that you've rallied extensively in Ireland and in Britain, but the ring stage is a beautiful stage, isn't it? Absolutely. I think the ring stage would be everybody's driver's stage. There's everything in the ring stage. There's fast stuff, there's tight stuff, but there's a lovely flow to the stage. And I think you either like ring or you hate ring, but I think 90% of the people love ring, and you get a great thrill from driving it. There's a few different versions, but I think they're all pretty much the same. But it's certainly one of the iconic stages, yes. Yeah, and
The other time, of course, that you had victory snatched away was it in the Subaru that went away on the last stage with a little bit of panel damage.
Yes, that happened, yes, the last stage. We were leading the rally in the beginning, and then the power steering rack went on fire on Artfield. We lost a lot of time. That was the first day. Kenny McKinstry replaced the rack. We got going, and we started coming from the back, and we were catching Bob, and eventually going into the last stage, we felt we could maybe do it. And I suppose, yeah, I pushed it too hard and made a slight mistake going over the crest, and found a pillar on my way, so that was the end of that.
The rally, though, is much more than just, a competition or, on Saturday evening or Sunday evening. I know you go to the Sugan and things like that. It's very important as well to the local economy, isn't it? And I suppose you've seen the rally go from strength to strength, and maybe in latter years it dwindled again. But I suppose everything is cyclical, isn't it?
It is. I did the first rally in '77. I think Kevin informed me there recently. He was talking to me about the book that I did 20 rallies here, and finished half of them. He said, it was a fantastic rally, and is a fantastic rally. But I mean, it was part of the main rallying calendar for the year. Like you had to be in West Cork Paddy's weekend. You had to do the West Cork. I mean, as you saw from the film there tonight, there was some fantastic entrants in the rally from abroad that you would even have forgotten about. Some of them I had forgotten myself. So it was always high on the list. And again, as you said, Giuseppe, I treated it as my home rally, I suppose. So I did my best to be here all the time.
Brian, you came to the rally as Dunlop National Rally Championship winner, and first time in a World Rally car in Clonakilty, and did what Frank couldn't do. But I'm sure your win, I said it to Frank, he enjoyed it as well, but it meant a lot to you for him as well, because he's been huge support to you.
It has been, yeah, to be fair. I mean, I suppose as long as I'm involved in rallying, and all the memories I have is really just coming down here on a Patrick's weekend, and as you said, going to the Sugan, having dinner, and basically just spectating at the rally, and I suppose being there at the hard end when getting the phone calls from this fella to say that he's probably somewhere on the way to hospital with a dislocated shoulder and all that. But for us to come here, I suppose we were coming here as the national champion. It was in a new car, so we weren't really putting ourselves under a whole lot of pressure. We said we'd kind of feel our way into it, and unfortunately, I suppose we gave Dennis a small bit of a cushion going into Sunday. But as I said, I was looking forward to the cut over the ring stage. It's one of my favourite stages. Everything works quite well for me in that stage, and I suppose we got into the lead, and I suppose I made a small mistake myself, and it was very, very tight going into the last stage. And unfortunately, Dennis, had an accident. That's probably not the way you like to win a rally. In fairness, you'd like to win it fair and square on the day. And but look, it's part of rallying. I've been there myself. But in fairness, the rallying here and to get the name on the trophy for my dad was amazing for me.
Yeah, there's some. That is a lovely trophy as well. There's some great names on it, I suppose. But it started with Billy, so everybody in Cork, it's a rally that people want to do. And I remember the late Mick Campbell another man, I suppose, that had a huge love of motorsport and a huge love of the West Cork Rally.
I mean, I suppose when we all start, you all start off, and it is a massive thing to be able to say that you're competing in rallies. I suppose back in the day for lads to say with the likes of Billy Coleman, and I suppose nowadays it's going to be the likes of Keith and stuff like that who are competing on the world stage, and Paul. And it's a great sport from that point of view that you are able to compete. Especially I suppose in the likes when Rally Ireland was on, you had lads coming over, Sebastian Loeb, Marcus Gronholm and all those, and yet again, you're able to say that you're able to compete with rallies, which I suppose it is rare these days that you're able to compete so closely to the guys at the top of your sport.
All right, if you'll just stay with me, because you're two of the last three guests. My final guest of the evening is the President of Motorsport Ireland, Joe Corcoran. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm Clonakilty welcome from Joe Corcoran. Joe, you're very welcome to Clonakilty, and I suppose as President of Motorsport Ireland, you know, books like these are important as well, because it's a record of the sport, and it's there long after we're all gone.
Well, exactly that. It's a record of the sport. And, you know, over the last 2 hours, isn't it a delight to see the enrichment of sport that is there? It's an absolute delight, and it's fantastic to be in West Cork and to see so many people that have enjoyed the sport.
And I think the book, you know, and again, I said I had a quick look at it in Ring today, and it's not something you'll open and read for 2 or 3 hours. You can open it, and I could easily say you will spend the next 12 months looking at it, and you will still find something new in there, because it's an absolute glossary of everything. And I mean, I don't think, you know, anybody here in this room realize the amount of work that Kevin put into that book, and I think he should be tremendously proud of it.
Well, as you say, it's going to be over the next few months that actually, judging by the size of the book, you know, it's going to take a wee while to get through it. But, you know, the faces, the cars, everything about it, you know, just the fact, you know, I suppose we go out every weekend in the sport, and, you know, we come across, and sometimes, you know, you look at it as being the circus that moves around. It's the same jokers, mind you, that go to a lot of them. And, you know, when I see Declan there and all the fun that we've all had, you know, but we forget sometimes to think back. And this, I think, will be a very fitting reminder to a rally that, you know, started in '77, still going strong. Mind you, you know, some of the same faces about, but I mean, having said that, you know, it's just great to get it all down there, and well done to Kevin and the Cork Motor Club. And from a Motorsport Ireland point of view, you know, and, you know, you were talking about Brian there earlier. I remember coming here as steward, you know, and there was no yellows in with Brian. It was straight red, like. But anyway, we lived to get to the county bounds, you know, but we had great fun at the end of the day, you know, and that's what this sport is all about. And, you know, when the lads were up here earlier, and I you know, I'll hopefully be there on the sidelines for Keith in France. And, you know, it's great to see young talent coming along. Great to see Irish motorsport on the world stage. And hopefully it'll be there for a long time.
Thank you, Joe. Ladies and gentlemen, my final panel, on my far left, Frank O'Mahony, who has contributed not just a lot to the West Cork Rally, and not just to rallying in general, but also to the administration level in Irish motorsport, to Brian O'Mahony, the outgoing Dunlop National Rally champion and the current West Cork Rally champion, and to the President of Motorsport Ireland, Joe Corcoran. A round of applause, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the conclusion of the forum. But tonight was really all about launching the West Cork Rally, a history. All I want you to do is to go and purchase the book, because you won't be sorry. It's an absolute gem, and I want one big round of applause for its author, richly deserving. And if you'll join me here on stage, is Kevin there? Because I think for the last 15 months he's put in a Trojan amount of work into the book, and it is a fantastic read. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think he's on his way, and he deserves a rich round of applause. And wherever you're going home to tonight, go home safely, and we will see you in Clonakilty again, maybe before the 2014 West Cork Rally. So, ladies and gentlemen, a fitting round of applause for the author of the West Cork Rally, a history, Kevin O'Driscoll.
Thanks, folks. Thanks, Martin. Great job.